2027. He is classified as a second felony offender. He has an adjusted good time date of November the 9th of 2045. He is currently imprisoned on the charge of attempted second-degree murder, possession with intent to distribute cocaine, aggravated battery, forcible rape, sexual battery, and attempted second-degree murder. He is serving a total of 62 years, 8 months, and 1 day. Does that sound pretty correct, Mr. Hills?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Hills, how old are you, sir?
45.
And tell me how long you've been in prison on these charges.
22 years and about 5 months.
Tell me a little bit about these charges. Tell me what was going on with you in your life when you committed these crimes and why you committed them.
Just young and stupid, trying to find myself. I mean, I'm not proud of anything that I've done. And it took this for me to straighten myself out and open my eyes. I mean, you can be either your own best friend or your own worst enemy. And it took this for me to find out and see that the path that I chose just wasn't the right one.
What kind of classes have you taken, or what programs have you taken that might indicate that you're a changed person? What have you learned while you've been in prison?
I've taken anger management, risk management. I got a GED. I got my trade as an auto mechanic. It's countless things that I've done, but I mean, the most for me is learning that, like, risk management it's about poor impulse control, and anger management, it's thinking of what you do and why you do it and not to do it, and the long-term consequences of your action or the short term.
Tell me what you learned in the sex offender program. You took all 4 phases of the sex offender treatment program?
Yes, sir.
Tell me what you learned about your crime and what effect it had on the victim.
Poor impulse control. I mean, just don't just act and do things. And the degrading and just, it was wrong. Nobody, no one should have to go through anything like that. And I was wrong.
Drugs or alcohol involved in any of these crimes?
No, sir.
You ever used drugs or alcohol?
I tried them almost 30 years ago.
What were you trying? What did you try back then?
A marijuana stick.
Anything beyond that?
No, sir.
Not drinking.
No, sir.
Selling drugs?
Yes, sir.
Tell me about your selling drugs. When did you start selling drugs?
That didn't last long.
Well, tell me about it.
I guess I wanted to fit in with the in crowd, which wasn't really the in crowd. So I tried selling drugs and it didn't work out. I went to jail.
What would you say to the victims today? And you were charged with 2 sex offenses, a 13-year-old girl. Tell me about that. What was that about?
I was probably 17 or 18 years old, and it was a poor decision on my part, and I am sorry.
How did it even happen?
Well, we were neighbors, and we went to school together. I went down, and I went down there, and that's what happened to her house. and it happened.
Tell me about the woman you raped. Tell me about that charge. How did that come about?
Well, I just came back from out of state, and I asked a friend of mine to take me somewhere. And as we were leaving, we saw her walking, and he wanted to pick her up. And we picked her up, and as we supposedly taking her home, he had other plans, and we raped her. I mean, none of this was the right thing to do. And I do realize that, Judge Marabella. And I'm sorry for everything that I've done.
Tell me what classes have, you say anger management. I mean, were you angry? Was this rage? I mean, what was going on with you that caused you on two separate occasions to do this?
I guess misguidance, misdirection. When I look back on all of them, on not just that, but everything, I was angry. And it was most likely with myself, because I wasn't raised this way. You know, my parents, aunts, uncles, younger brother and sister, everybody aspired for me to do better than what I've done with my life. And I chose the wrong avenues and made the wrong choices.
Why the weapons? Why all the guns? Why the violence? That started when you were a juvenile.
Yes, sir. Like I said, I just put myself at the wrong place with the wrong people. Thinking that certain people were my friends, and I realize now today that I don't have any friends.
Have you taken Thinking for a Change?
No, I have not.
Have you taken MRT? Have you taken any courses that sort of affects your ability to reason and think? I see that you've taken pre-release, you've taken sex offender classes, AAMA, but I don't see that you've taken Living in Balance, MRT, Thinking for a Change, any sort of programs like that that sort of make you look inwardly and think about who you are and how you're going to change. Have you taken anything like that?
No, sir, I haven't.
You think that that's important or something that maybe you should take?
If that's what I need to take, I'll take it.
Well, what do you think? I mean, I hear you saying if you want me to take that to get out, I'll do it.
I have looked in myself. And that's why today I have made the changes that I have. If you look at my record, before this ever came about that I was going to come up for parole, I was making changes within myself by the classes that I took, by the courses that I took, because I knew a change had to take place and that change had to be with me. Everything that I took, it was about my choice, because I knew I had to do better.
Tell me a little bit about your disciplinary record. You had 53 write-ups, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Your last one was in 2019. What was that for?
Lit wick. A lit wick. A lit wick. A piece of toilet paper with a cherry on it. It was in front of, it was on the bar of my cell.
What can you tell us about Mr. Hills?
I became acquainted with Leighton, I want to say 12 to 15 years ago, give or take. And what I have seen from the time we've met until now, I don't know when the light came on for him, but think he left, he went back to Angola from Hunt. But upon his return and me becoming acquainted with him on this time, I don't know what happened, but he's a different person. And he's actually a trustee. He does work in ASNR. And I guess prior to him leaving to go to Angola, I didn't know that he had the skills that he has. And I'll just put it, to be candid, I wouldn't have trusted Leighton and Ed ASNR because of the person that he was. But now, I mean, I don't know, the light came on, the switch came on, or as he said, he matured or realized. And after talking with him now, I want to say we're right at a year to find out where his background is. Some people are born in the red, but he didn't have it to do. It was a choice. But his, I just want to say his upbringing is definitely being exhibited now. I mean, he's in the back where security is not all day in an area with tools and vehicles, and he's a part of taking care of the fleet back there that saves the state money. And it was surprising based on who he was before he left and he came back. But I have seen significant progress. But it makes sense now to me because of his background, the way he was raised and his DNA. He just, I don't know, he went on as they say in prison, a run that I didn't understand it at the time, but it was a choice. He's definitely progressive, and the comments from the staff that's around Leighton is definitely favorable.
Thank you, Warden. Appreciate your comments. Mr. Hill, what would be your plan? Where would you live if you were get an early release?
You're living with my parents,
And where is that?
East Baton Rouge.
What kind of work would you be doing?
I'll be working at Crawler Supply, heavy equipment maintenance.
And it's my understanding you have one child. Is that correct? How old is your child?
Son, he's 25.
You have any relationship with him? You contact with him?
Somewhat. We haven't talked in a while.
Thank you. I think that's all the questions I have. Anything else there?
I have a question for you.
Ms. Renatzi?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Fields, are you followed by mental health at all?
No, ma'am.
Have you ever been followed by mental health?
No, ma'am.
All right, thank you. I had to.
Thank you. Now we'll hear from those that wish to speak. Mr. Gerald Hills.
Good morning.
Morning,
My name's
Mr. Hills.
I'm Gerald Hills. I'm here to show my support for my brother Lathan. Over the years, our relationship and friendship as brothers have grown beyond what I ever thought imaginable, given the circumstances over the last 2 decades. I am where I am today because of his support, our relationship, and our friendship. And he continues to be that constant support and ear for me to bounce ideas off of and to talk to. And he's helped make me a better person. I've also been his constant support along with my parents here and other members of the family to help him grow to the man that he's been today, to challenge him and to do those like inward looks that you're speaking of. He's admitted his mistakes. He's expressed his remorse for his previous crimes, and he's served a sentence that's been more than 75% of my life. During that time, he's completed lots of programs that more than I've been able to keep track of, and he continues to pursue the self-improvement, the educational and the trade school goals that he has for himself and that he's laid out. Like what was spoken to, his good behavior has allowed him to become a mentor and a trustworthy person in the place that he's in. He has a secure home, a supportive family, and several job opportunities that wait for him upon his release. And more than 22 years in prison has changed and matured him. When we first started building a relationship, the person he was then and the person he is now is immeasurably different. He's allowed this time to better him. Um, he's had many years to reflect on those mistakes and is remorseful for his actions in the past. Tart comes from a very supportive and loving family, and I would say he needs to be restored to his family. He continues to better himself, and I would like him to be here to support his family by just being able to actively engage and physically be present for us and for our family and for his parents. And I would ask that you please grant him parole. He wants to be here. I need him. I'm sorry. I need him here and present.
Thank you. Appreciate your comments. Ms. Charlene Hills? Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Tell us what you'd like us to know about your son.
I'd like for you to know that more than anything, he has changed. He is a changed man. And that he regrets what he's done and he has shown remorse. I'd like for you to know that when he went to jail over 20 years ago, that a matter of fact, a year ago today, he and his father and I, we've moved to a better neighborhood. We need him. We need him. We need him. We just need him. And I want y'all to know that he has changed. He has changed. And his father and I, his family, we need him. We are not healthy and we live alone. Gerald just left here about a month and a half ago, taking care of him, me and his father for a month. And as you see, Gerald's in the military. We have nobody else to do that. Our daughter is, she works 8:30 to 5. She go home and she help our grandson do homework. She cooks, and then that's her day. But she do check in on us. She lives 10 minutes away, but we need him. We need him. Gerald lives in Ohio. I know. I've seen the change in him.
Thank you, Ms. Hills. We appreciate your comments. Ms. Randolph, Ms. Constance Randolph? Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am, you're on mute still.
What about now?
We can hear you now. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, as it was stated earlier, I am Lathan's auntie. We lovingly call him Todd. So if you hear me say Todd, that's a family name that we have attached to him. I am his maternal aunt, and what I love so much about Todd is that not is his growth, but also his inner being has grown also. I got to know him because we often talked about God. And one of the things when you have made peace with yourself, I believe you have to make peace with your Savior, and which is Jesus Christ. Todd is very knowledgeable of God. I sat before him, and before he wouldn't tell me the total truth. Then as time went on, he began to talk more openly with me. And I'm a type of person, a social worker by profession. I look into a person's eyes and I listen more deeply than surfacely as what they may be sharing with me. And I can tell that he is remorseful. He has the ability to be of value to our community. He can become a mentor to the other young men and young boys that are going astray. I believe that the environment plays a huge impact on a child. Todd was reared by his parents who had firm foundations and rules and regulations for their home. But as my grandmother often says, when you leave my house and go into the community, represent us well. As a young man in a impoverished community at the time he was rearing up, his parents did the best that they could. But the environment sometimes oversees what the foundation has been laid. And that's where Todd went astray. But one thing is that he is rooted in a great value system. He is rooted in love. He is rooted in knowing that the life that I chose, because he acknowledged it was a choice. He didn't have this to do. So his acknowledgement.
If you could wrap it up, please. We've got a lot of need to hear.
Okay, his acknowledgement of where he was, where he is now, and what he has done should be greatly considered. And as his mother edified, we love him and we do want him home. And we ask you to please allow him to go forward with his life.
Thank you very much, ma'am. I appreciate your comments. Now we'll hear from Ms. Tracy Barbera. Ms. Barbera.
Good morning. Thank you, Judge Marabella. Good morning, Ms. Renatz and Ms. Wise. I am very happy to hear that Mr. Hills has such a supportive family waiting for him. I do believe that there are certainly more classes that he can take. And now that the light has turned on, I think he will gain even more if he takes those classes now than perhaps he would have gained 10 years ago. I must, however, speak on behalf of the victims, particularly the lady who I will not name in the 1995 rape. Science did catch up with Mr. Hills, and luckily it was able to give her closure. However, even though the offense occurred in 1995, he was not arrested on this until January of 2016. So the 22 years that he has served in prison, those were for the other very violent crimes that he committed prior to being arrested on the forcible rape that he was convicted of. So he has actually only served 6 years for that sex offense. And it is my humble opinion that that victim deserves more than 6 years of incarceration for accountability for that very violent act that he and his co-defendant committed upon her. So I would respectfully ask that his parole be denied today. Certainly, he reapply at some point in the future, but I think that it would just deprecate the seriousness of the violence that he perpetrated upon that lady to let him out after only serving 6 years for that particular crime. And of course, we always respect the board's opinion and decision. And we just thank you for letting me speak to you this morning.
Thank you very much, Ms. Barbera. Mr. Hills, is there anything you'd like to say before the panel votes?
Yes, sir. I mean, we've spoken and you've asked me about change and what would I do when I get out and program. And in all honesty, whatever needs to be done. I'm not going to reoffend. I'm not going to be a problem. My family needs me. As the assistant district attorney said, I pled guilty, and it was an understanding. I pled guilty and I got out the way. I did what I needed to do because I was wrong. And I didn't want to send anybody through any undue stress and give them, I don't know what it's, closure, or just deal with the situation. But I pled and I got out the way. Tomorrow's not promised on a board for next month, next year, or the year after that. That's not promised. What we have is what we have here today. And I'm asking you, I'm asking all of you to give me this opportunity before I can be a positive influence on not just the family, but those that I can also help in my community. I'm sorry for what I did. I was wrong. I will not be a reoffender. All the man has is his word. That's all any of us have, is our word. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hills. Is the panel ready to vote? Mr. Hills, I want to commend you for the work that you've done. You certainly have done a lot of work while you've been in prison. You've got a wonderful family, obviously, that is supporting you. You've got some great comments by the warden, and you've taken some pretty good progress. Sometimes it's hard to escape our past. When I look back and see the horrible crimes that you committed, I have to give that some weight. I have to look at that. I have to see what you've done and what you've accomplished since then. And you have accomplished a lot of things since then. There's no question. But you have left a lot of victims in your wake. And there's a victim now still suffering and only have been has some closure for the last 6 years of this horrible offense that you committed against her. I think you're on the right track. I do believe that there's a day coming very soon that you'll be with your family, and I think that's terrific. But for today's purposes, because of your history of violence, criminal history, supervision history, terrible of crime, the length of time that you've served, only 22 years on a 60-plus sentence, and the opposition by both law enforcement as well as the victims, my vote today is going to be to deny you, but I would encourage you to continue to work hard, take some more classes, reapply, and if I'm still on this panel, if you don't get relief today, I'm still on this panel and you've taken some courses, you're likely to get a different ruling. But that's my vote today. I'm only one of three.
Mr. Hills, I've listened to you and I've listened to your family, and I want to thank your brother for his service. Thank your mom and dad, for supporting you today. Auntie, that's a blessing. But for me, the age of the victim, the nature of the offense, and the law enforcement termed you a violent sex offender. My vote is to deny as well. You could benefit from victim awareness. We've taken that. And because of what the warden said, I made a comment on mine. I urge you to reapply when you're eligible for a rehearing. But best wishes to you, sir. Just keep working.
Thank you, Ms. Weiss. Ms. Renatz.
Mr. Hills, I too am pleased with you understanding the need that you need to work on you. I did take note of what the warden said. And since your return from Angola, they placed you in a very trusted position at ASNR, and he was actually quite surprised by you. So show us your character. Don't use this as an opportunity. My vote today is going to be to deny based on the opposition that's been expressed here today. I do believe you could benefit from some more programs, continue doing well, reapply when you can, and hopefully next time you'll have a different outcome. Good luck to you, sir.
Mr. Hills, you've received 3 votes to deny your parole, but encouragement from all 3 of us to continue on the hard work that you're doing. So get some programs behind you and reapply as soon as you can. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
What a difference it is when the DA shows up. My favorite ADA, Tracy Barbera. She's there to represent the victim. She's there to represent, she's to say, he just started serving the sentence. It was only DNA that finally caught him, and he just started serving this sentence. And so often, more often than not, we don't see the DA to care to show up to represent the victim or the survivor in this case. And we can go over some of the information, thank you, Richard, that is available about this. So a man convicted in the 1995 kidnapping and sexual assault of a woman left half dressed and unconscious on the edge of a gravel road will spend the rest of his life in prison, a judge ruled Thursday. Now, this article is about his co-defendant. So remember how he was saying, I did what I needed to do. I just took the plea. I didn't go to court. It's like, dude, they had DNA. You want to go to court against the DNA that they have? But what's interesting is that his co-defendant didn't feel that way. His co-defendant went to court and he got 2 life sentences for this, which is quite interesting, right? We don't often see judges give out life sentences for these type of crimes. So aggravated, okay. And the attack that began with 2 men offering a ride to a woman walking along South Drive. She declined, but they passed in their car several more times and told her that they would take her home. She eventually accepted the ride. Instead of taking her home, though, the men drove to secluded gravel road off of Mockingbird Lane. According to the police records, they told her that she had 2 options: sexual assault or that they would end her life. Both men then took turns. One then said to the other, let's do her, as in let's end her. So he began to choke her, and the other man did the same. The woman said she lost consciousness. When she woke up, the men were gone. She was taken to the hospital and had the exam. The case went unsolved for 2 decades. In 2015, the state police crime lab alerted investigators that they had a DNA match to evidence gathered during the exam, and it identified as one of the attackers, and both the attackers and the men were indicted in 2016. And Hill pled guilty and received 20 years. Did he make state witness as well? I'm not quite sure. We do have the court transcripts of his co-defendant who received life. And again, the statement of facts are pretty much the same. It says that they were playing pool. She was playing pool with her brother. Afterwards, her uncle gave her a ride from the bar to her boyfriend's house. And then between 3 and 4 a.m., she left her boyfriend's house to walk home, which was 6 miles away. Isn't that something? I mean, 6 miles away. There's a lot, of course, you say, come on, boyfriend, but who knows? So 6 miles, gosh. KB left her boyfriend's house to walk from 6 miles away. On the way, she stopped at a store about a quarter mile away and used a payphone in an attempt to call a friend to give her a ride. Her friend did not answer. As she walked away from the payphone, a car occupied by 2 men pulled up, and the men asked KB for a cigarette. She gave them one, and they drove away. The car then returned, and the men asked KB if she wanted a ride. After hesitating, KB said she did. The defendant's accomplice exited the car so KB could enter through the passenger side. KB sat in the front seat between the 2 men. With the defendant in the driver's seat, KB told the men her address, and they began traveling in the direction of the house. Here it says that she indicated her boyfriend was unable to transport her home because his truck was not working, that while he had a motorcycle, he only had 1 helmet. Oh, dude. Yeah. Can you imagine letting your girlfriend walk home alone 6 miles at like 5 in the morning? Like, are you kidding me? It's just messed up. This is so messed up on so many levels. They approached KB Street, but the car continued past the entrance into the neighborhood. She asked the men why they were not bringing her home, and she asked them to bring her home several times. It seemed to KB that the men were not going to stop to let her out. KB said that at the time she was mentally upset and may have been crying. The driver continued stopping, reversing directions several times for about 30 minutes. They eventually stopped on a gravel road near KB's neighborhood. KB testified that when the car stopped, she knew she was in trouble because while they were driving, they told her that she would not get a ride for nothing. Did not think she could get out of the car at that point. She could not jump out because there was a man on either side of her. Shortly after they stopped, KB felt something sharp on her neck. One of the men told her that she had a choice to either comply or to die. They ordered her to the back seat of the car where she was assaulted. Afterwards, the men began to strangle her. She blacked out, and when she woke up, she was on her back, undressed, on the ground outside. The car was no longer there. She walked to the nearest house because she was scared the men would come back. She knocked on the door, and the residents called 911. And in 2015, they ran the DNA. They found them from the DNA. Can you imagine? DNA really is catching a lot of people. There was an article I was reading before, which was quite interesting, but the system, they could have caught them earlier, but because there were 2 matches, they had some weird, protocol in the system that wouldn't allow it to be put into the database, the coded database, and then they changed that, either that code rule or the law around it, and then that's when they pulled up both attackers, which is just, anything big government has red tape, which often doesn't make any sense. His appeals are kind of ridiculous. His appeals are almost like, well, she wanted it. She came into the car. Like, it's quite ridiculous. Similar defendant's emphasis at KB's initial willingness to enter the vehicle was misplaced. The moment the vehicle passed her neighbor, both men ignored her request to take him back. I'm trying to see if he was a witness to this, but I don't see it here. Either way, he lost his appeal. He's spending life in prison. His co-defendant is probably get out before him, and I guess that's why you take an appeal. But man, he's got a long record. This is just one crime. To think about how many more there might be, it's hard to think that you just go and do this just one time. And he, of course, had a long record he was serving before he even got this charge. But you tell me, do you think that people can become reformed? And then you have the whole, again, nature versus nurture thing, and his brother just seems to be doing great. It's the strangest thing. It really is. But with that, I'll let you go.